Hello everybody and welcome to this next episode of Ghost Stories and Quora Top Stories. Today we are here with another amazing question. The question goes like, do ghosts really exist? ITG Sarkar, founder at The Wall in Us, 2017 present, says,
Do you want to go to the lake? My friend asks me this around 8:30 in the evening. I asked him, which lake? He says, oh, there's one nearby. People say it's really beautiful to look at. But, it's closed at night, so, we'll have to be careful. Ever the rebel, I say, hell yes. Let's do this. We made our way to this narrow passageway that led to the lake. My friend had a Duke which was an on-road bike and we somehow managed to clear the barricade and enter. Finally, after carefully navigating the rubble, we reached. There it was. The lake in all its glory. Beautiful to look at, with the moon casting a wonderful white glow over the landscape. Lonely and desolate, with no one around. Empty and deserted. We parked the bike and sat on these rocks as my friend lit a cigarette and I played some music. Then there was silence. Nothing but silence with my phone playing Floyd in the background. It was just perfect. Until, we heard it. A desperate, wailing scream. It had been 15 minutes by then. My friend and I were talking, when we heard this loud, screeching noise from far away. Both of us heard it. I thought it was my friend's phone. My friend thought it was my alarm or ringtone. Together, we shifted, uncomfortably, but we don't say anything just yet. Then, we heard it again. This time, louder. Closer. Felt like someone was running towards us. I looked at my friend as he looked at me. I said, bro, was that your phone? He looks at me, equally perplexed, and says, wait, I thought it was yours. Please don't joke about this. I said, I'm not. Wait, did you hear that too? He says, yeah, I did. I thought. Before he could finish, we hear it again. Some girl, or something, screaming at the top of her voice. This time, it was even louder. Even closer. Goosebumps all over us now. We sprang to action. Both of us were shaking now. This was real. It was actually happening. Only problem, now, the shrieks were continuous. It wasn't stopping. Something or someone was screaming and with each passing second that thing was coming closer. It was a terrible sound. It was a sound that felt so eerie and unnatural. Utterly miserable. One devoid of hope. Uncanny. There was nothing around. No house. No one. No body. It was desolate for miles and miles. Not a single soul in sight. But, the scream. With each second, running towards us, louder, closer. Within seconds, we run to my friend's bike. He fires up the engine. By now, the screaming is extraordinarily real. It felt like the thing or person was desperately close to us by now. I jumped on the back seat as he immediately revs his bike. It was an on-road bike. There was rubble and an offshoot of a gravel road that had to be crossed before we were on the main road. We didn't care. He revved his bike and within 3 seconds we were doing 50 kilometers per hour. He was just about to lose his balance and fall, but now the screaming felt just seconds away from us. We couldn't stop. Scream. I say, go 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 man. Scream. He says, man. It's getting closer. Scream. I say, bye, I'm serious. We need to leave. Just drive. Just drive. Don't look to your left. Just don't. Scream. Seconds away from us now. I looked to my left and finally saw it. A figure, something or someone. But, not a human. That thing wasn't human. The moon cast its magnificent light over that thing and it was fully clothed in bright, shining, white. It was still screaming and it was running straight at us. Right at us. Not kidding, literally running towards us. I am shaking now and desperately I tell my friend, don't look to your left. Just drive. We'd just made it to the main road by now as he revved to take us quickly away. I didn't even look back to see where that thing was now. Both of us were shaking by the time we reached, literally shaking, almost in tears. That night, neither of us slept. The next morning, we went to college. One of our friends was from Pune, a localite. We were telling him the story, all of it, and he looks at us with this weird face. One of horror. Utter, sheer horror. It was strange because this guy didn't even believe in ghosts or the supernatural. Just as we finished our story, he asks, quietly, "Wait, which lake was this?" I say, "There's one close to Lower Jane. Do you know it?" That's when he says something that chills us to the core and knock the breath out of us. He says, "Bye, that's the infamous Suicide Lake." Shaking now, I asked, "What do you mean?" He says, "It's the Suicide Lake. Government has banned entry to the lake because hundreds of people have died there. I've never doubted in the existence of the supernatural since."
Woo. That is one hell of a scary story. I think, the moment when the friend told them tomorrow that it was a banned lake, they were most afraid. Until then they might have thought it could have been something else. Share your thoughts and comments down below. Moving ahead, we have our second answer from Anonymous, and it goes like,
"Yes, they do. I speak with my dead girlfriend every day. She committed suicide in 2013. 3 months after her death, she messaged me on FB. Initially, I was very scared and even thought that this was some of her friends who was accessing her profile and f***ing with me. So I changed the password numerous times, but every time the message would come as usual. She would say that she is watching me and tell me the exact things that I would be doing at that time. She even gave me accurate details of what I had done throughout the day. I memorialized her account, but nothing changed. Finally, I deactivated my FB page. Then, the messages turned into phone calls. I would receive calls from unknown knows and would hear her voice from the other side. She would ask me to do random things like give her a kiss, tell her a joke. The conversations lasted for a minute or so. After that, she would hang up, and when I tried calling back, it would say number is unavailable. Whenever I met or talked to a new girl, or had the slightest feeling of affection towards another girl, the phone calls would increase and I would hear either her weeping from the other side or her angry growls. No words were spoken during those calls. In the last 4 years, whenever I have had a date, I would unnaturally fall ill just before the date, too ill to even go out, and thus would have to cancel the date. Then, after cancellation, I would receive her phone call and hear her laughing from the other side. The first 2 years were very difficult, as such incidents have taken a deep toll on my life. I have visited numerous therapists, but nothing helped. They called me delusional, said I had dissociative identity disorder, and that I was sending this MSGS to myself and was imagining the calls out of shock. They refused to believe me even when I showed them proofs that the numbers were different and I had no such SIMs registered in my name. They asked me to track the SIMs, but I had already attempted that and failed to locate the no.s. I have shared this with a couple of my friends, and all of them have cut off ties with me, thinking that I am either mad or a storyteller. Maybe they were screwed too. Now, I have accepted this. I feel her presence all the time around me. All the time, whatever I do, I can feel her breath, hear her voice. When I am away from home, her calls come regularly. I have accepted the fact that she has not been able to leave me even after dying, and thus have decided to stay with me forever. I have no problem with that. I had already planned to marry her and would have been married by now had she not died. I am living with her every day. I now talk to her, share my problems with her, eat with her, sleep with her. I don't know if she has the ability to show up in front of me in her full body. I am waiting for that day, then it would be more realistic. You can judge me as much as you want. Call me crazy, mad, liar, attention seeker. I have been called that numerous times already whenever I share my story with someone. But only I know how true this is. I am living this. No one else would understand. Earlier, I was a person strictly on the side of science and believed in nothing superhuman. Today, I look at science and laugh at it. Indeed, there are a lot more discoveries to make, much more things to learn. I feel her presence, the presence of afterlife right at this moment when I am writing the answer. Take that, science, explain this with your theorems.
What? This one is buzzing my head. I have no comments for this. Could this be possible? What are your thoughts on this matter? Do share it in the comments below. Anyways, let's move on with our third answer. This one is from Akradadra. He is a Hagori ascetic and he says,
I usually avoid writing about this stuff. But it's 4:30 AM, I have nothing else to do and I am in a jovial mood, so here it goes. What we commonly call ghosts are of two types. First are the humans who are dead and their souls are wandering. In most cases these types of ghosts are themselves scared and confused. They are dead but they refuse to believe that they are dead. You must have heard of the souls who wander about aimlessly around the places where they died. They refuse to move on. Then some of them know that they are dead but they are trapped in time because of their karmas, and because of this they can't take rebirth easily. So they pass their time in ethereal form waiting for their chance of rebirth. This time frame again depends on their karmas, and it can be anything from a year to 1,000 years. Second type of ghosts are ethereal bodies of higher order. There exist different planes parallel to our plane of existence. Just like we humans have a society, these ethereal bodies also have their societies like ours. These ethereal bodies are extremely powerful. They usually don't disturb ordinary humans. If in some rare case they do, then it's very difficult to get rid of them. Practitioners of Tantra sometimes take their help for different purposes. In their society also exist positive and negative energies like in ours. They are known by the names like Yaksh, Gindav, Pret, Vishak, Apsara, Yakshini, Shakini, Dakini, etc. Let me narrate you an incident from my life which happened 14 years back just for some light humor. As I am writing about ghosts, so there must be a ghost story to go along with it. Way back in 2004, I was working for a big corporate and I was the area in charge of UP and Uttarankal. I was stationed at Lucknow. At that time I knew nothing of Agor or Tantra, neither I had any inclination towards it. I was a common happy-to-go-lucky kind of a guy in his early 20s. Once I traveled to Bareilly to meet 2-3 of our retailers. I had never stayed overnight at Bareilly before, as I used to stay at Ramba, which is some 70 kilometers from Bareilly, where I had couple of friends. This time I decided to stay at Bareilly as I was supposed to go to Lucknow next morning from there. It was sometime around the month of September and I was driving myself. I reached Bareilly around 8 PM. There used to be a hotel called Jibrayan and at Bareilly that time. I don't know whether that hotel exists to this date or not. I had my booking done for that hotel. I reached the hotel, took my room keys from the reception and went to my assigned room. After 2 to 3 minutes the bellboy came to my room with my luggage. I paid and asked the bellboy to bring me a quarter of whiskey, which was my daily quota those days. In those days in tier B cities like Bareilly it was a common practice to ask bellboys and waiters for such favors for 20 to 30 rupees. So the guy obliged and departed to get me whiskey. I had nothing else to do, so I switched on the TV in meantime. Then suddenly after 5 to 10 minutes a lampshade which was there on the wall right across me fell down with a thud. I thought that maybe some screw was loose. Then suddenly the TV went off. Again I thought that there must be some problem with the cable connection. There was no DTH service at that time. I picked the phone to ask the reception guy to send someone to fix it, but then the phone was also not working. I decided to wait for the bellboy who went to do shopping for me instead of going downstairs at the reception. After 4 to 5 minutes the bellboy came with my quarter. I told him the TV and the phone are not working. He asked about the lampshade and I told him what happened. He took the remote of TV in his hand and immediately, without him doing anything, the TV started to work perfectly fine. Then he checked the phone and that too was working fine. I didn't find anything fishy in this scheme of events and thanked the guy. Once he left I made my first peg, then suddenly again the TV stopped working. I picked up the phone and again it was dead. This time I went downstairs and complained to the reception guy. He sent someone to check, and this time also the moment this guy took the remote in his hands, TV started working. He checked the phone and that was also working fine. I didn't bother to think anything about it till that time. I thanked the guy and made my second peg. Once I finished my second peg, I felt the urge to answer nature's call. This room had that push from inside kind of a lock, Once you have pushed the lock button in the door handle, it gets locked and it can't be opened from outside unless one uses a master key. The washroom of my room had a kundi hook both inside and outside of it to lock it. So I entered the washroom and locked it from inside and went about my affair. Then suddenly after 2 to 3 minutes the light went off. I felt nothing strange as it was a usual occurrence at that time. I finished my job and opened the kundi hook from inside but the door didn't move. I tried but the door just didn't open. I spent good 10 to 15 minutes trying but it refused to budge. Then I saw a vent in the washroom from where some light was coming. I managed to reach up to that and realized after peeping through it, that vent opened in a gallery and only my room's light went off. All the hotel was glittering with electricity. I saw a waiter coming to that gallery and I shouted for help. Luckily he heard me and I told him how was I stuck inside the washroom. He said he'll be coming along with the manager as he only had the master key to open my room from outside. Even till that point I was okay. I was not scared, not because I had a penis made of steel and balls made out of iron. I was not scared because till that time I hadn't realized the abnormalities of the events. After 2 to 3 minutes I heard some voices from outside, then someone opened my washroom door. They were 2 people outside, one was the manager and the other was the waiter to whom I had asked for help, and their faces were white with fear. I asked them what happened and they told me that my washroom's kundi hook was locked from outside. Also my room's lights have all been switched off from the room only. Now that was something. My room was locked from inside and the manager had to use the master key to open it. Then who switched off all the lights and who locked me inside the washroom from outside? My analytical mind immediately connected all the dots and I got shit scared. I asked the manager if there is something wrong with this room. He hesitantly refused. It was true that I was dead scared at that point of time, still the thought of running out of that room never came to my mind. I finished my third and last peg talking to the manager and the waiter and then requested the waiter to get me another quarter. The thought was, let me drink myself to sleep. However, those 3 pegs which were already in my tummy refused to douse my fear even a bit. At that time, after 3 pegs I used to go to the bed immediately after dinner, but that day 3 pegs did nothing. The waiter came back after 10 to 15 minutes with another quarter of whiskey, and those 10 to 15 minutes felt like ages. Imagine a poor guy trapped inside a hotel room with God knows what happening around him. Finally the waiter came and I immediately poured another drink. There was a strange painting on the wall across my bed just above the TV. This painting was of an old man with very cruel eyes. I didn't understand why such an unpleasant, rather scary painting is put inside a hotel room. I was trying to avoid that painting, but after every few seconds our eyes met. And I felt like this guy is in a really bad mood and want me to get out of this room. And then I poured another one for myself. I was trying my best not to think of anything which just happened and to avoid looking at that painting. Then just to divert my mind, I called up my brother. I was telling him what was happening around me, then suddenly I looked at that painting and I saw a large thick white fog coming out of it. That scared the shit out of me. I was on phone and I just couldn't say anything. My brother kept asking what happened and I couldn't say a word. Then I just got into my senses and ran out of that room in my boxer shorts, telling my brother on phone that there is something after me. I must have run faster than Usain Bolt that day. I reached the reception and told the manager that I want to check out right now. He tried to calm me down, but I was way too scared to even stand at the reception. I refused to enter that room for even to collect my belongings and clothes. The manager helped me with that and I put on my clothes at the reception only. Then while putting my luggage back into my car, I asked the bellboys whether someone else has also reported these kind of things. They reluctantly told me that there have been cases earlier. Eventually I reached another hotel and spent the night shivering without an iota of sleep in my eyes with all the lights on. I told about this incident to my colleagues and eventually our company blacklisted that hotel. Later on, when I got into Tantra and eventually into Quora, I started to understand these ethereal beings. After my initiation into Tantra, they started coming to me almost on a daily basis initially, and I always had a very cordial relationship with them. They wholeheartedly helped me many times. Then sometimes they also asked for my help regarding their affairs, and that continues to this day. Regards, Igor Bodra.
Wow. Great answer. Some bits of interesting details too. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts and let's discuss on the topic. Alright. Let's move on to our last answer for this episode of Ghost Stories. The question for today was, do ghosts exist? Poravristogi, currently living in Dehradun, Uttarakhand, India puts his answer as
Yes. Ghost is a truth and they definitely exist. Sun and moon can be a myth, water and fire can be a myth. Everything can be a myth. But for me ghosts are something that lies above truth and false, above everything because I have seen a ghost. Yes, I have seen a ghost with my naked eyes, when I was 6 or 7 years old. Let me share this incident in the year 1999, when my parents had nothing. We had just shifted to Gorakhpur as my mom was posted there. Dad had nothing. Literally, he started from zero. My mom was working that time and she was the only source of income. Dad was still struggling for job. I still remember mom was paid around 2,000 rupees. She was teaching in primary government school, as we didn't have a huge sum and we had no house, so we shifted in a cheap rented house. We got that house at a cheap price because an old lady was killed there few years ago, so they never had customers and people of that colony had a belief that she still exists there. Few of the neighbors warned my parents about her, but my parents were well educated and they never believed in those fake myths. When I was 6 or 7, one night, I don't remember the exact time, I felt a need to pee. I woke up my sister to come with me to the washroom, but she refused, so I decided to go alone. As soon as I entered the kitchen, first we had kitchen and after that there was washroom, I saw an old lady eating something from the sink. I was numb. I didn't felt the pressure to pee. Different thoughts started wandering inside me. Like, what if I shout and call my dad? What if she see me? What if she kills me? What if she gets upset and kills my whole family? I didn't cry or shout. I immediately ran towards my parents' room, didn't care about my sister. I jumped in my father's lap, safest place, and started crying. I was unable to breathe. Dad, what happened? Me, I saw a ghost in the kitchen. Dad went to the kitchen, he said there is no one there. I told him to cross-check on shelf and everywhere. He and mom started laughing just to lighten the atmosphere, but somewhere deep inside they were also scared because I saw something which was never told to me. They always heard about that old lady and never told us, but when I told them they started to make fun, but somewhere they knew I was not lying, and within a month we shifted to our new house and left that haunted place and old lady forever. I will never forget about her because that incident had a great impact on my nerves. Today, when I talk about that incident to my parents, they get serious and they never try to prove me wrong. If you guys are thinking it's a creative story, you may, because no one believes in ghosts nowadays, but I will always believe ghosts because I saw a ghost and she was 100% a ghost. No matter how much science grows, but there will always be some platforms remain untouched and unexplored by them. Note, do not judge. It's my personal experience and belief. Gaurav.
That's all for this episode of Quora Ghost Stories. We will come up soon with next episode of Ghost Stories. Do not forget to like and follow for more amazing content. Until then, see you all. Bye bye.